Hi, my name is Jennifer Giddings, and my Great Moments in Art Education is about Ruth Faison Shaw. Ruth Faison Shaw was born in 1889 in Keensville, North Carolina, and is best known as an educator, art therapist, artist, writer, and lecturer. Shaw was considered an essential contributor to the progressive education movement of the 1930s with the development of her finger painting technique and a method of teaching it. Shaw began teaching in rural Appalachia but received no formal training and learned through experience throughout the United States and Italy. She believed that playful sensory experiences with simple materials are how children best learn from within. Shaw did not believe that pencils and paintbrushes were of use to children as they were the tools of an expert. Her mission was to develop a simple medium specifically for a child's use that she developed from 1926 to 1931. In 1918, Shaw left teaching to volunteer for World War I and the National War Work Council of the YMCA for a short time. Then, in 1920, she decided to go on a tour of Europe, and while she was there, was offered a position in Constantinople where she taught history. Oriental rug making sparked her interest in traditional patterns and colors. The inspiration led her to research in Rome for pure earth colors to make a safe base for finger paints. The finger paints needed to be non-toxic, water-based, and gelatinous so that they would spread smoothly and not dry too fast. In Rome, she founded the Shaw School in 1922, an experimental school for American and British children ages 5 to 12. Shaw continued to use her own experiences and philosophy in her teaching. She had 5 and 6-year-old students dictate stories to her to encourage their creative writing skills. It was essential to her to visually express children's literary ideas. Shaw rediscovered finger painting in 1926 when one of her students cut his finger. She sent him to the bathroom with iodine to clean his injury. When she checked on him, he was happily smearing the iodine all over the bathroom walls, and the other kids wanted to participate in the fun. She began to research the possibility of developing finger paints. In 1936, Biney and Smith began to manufacture Shaw's paint and paid her to tour the country, demonstrating to school groups, educational conferences, women's clubs, and department stores. In 1903, Biney and Smith had invented Crayola crayons. Shaw finger paints contain finely ground clay, gluey stiffener, and pigment, but the secret formula is the property of Shaw and the manufacturer. The paints will not hurt or stain the skin and are permanent colors. They work best on stiff paper with a glazed surface. The paper should be damp before paint is applied, as paint spread over the page, running over the edges. Finger painting provides an element of chance to the artist. The artist needs to know when to stop, and finger painting provides excellent practice in doing so. You can always add to finger painting and not subtract, but you can always smear it and start over. According to Shaw, finger paint is the perfect medium for self-expression. She thought of it not as something new, but as a playtime activity for children. It is a medium that simplifies the art-making process. Finger paint became therapy for schools, psychologists, and special needs students. When finger painting, the whole hand and arm are used along with the fingers. It is a whole body activity involving movement and action. Shaw favored specific gestures and movements such as the lower part of the forearm, the side of the hand and knuckles, and pressing of the fingertips. Each motion and body part created a different texture and object. She wanted her painting sessions to be orderly, especially when using tools and materials. Each finger painting was to tell its own story. She wrote 2 books titled Finger Painting and How I Do It, 1947, and Shaw Finger Paint, The Child's Perfect Medium for Self-Expression, 1937, to teach her method of finger painting step by step. The technique was important, but a teacher should never assign a specific topic to students. The students should begin to paint and then look within to see what theme develops naturally. Shaw returned to the United States in 1932 from Rome and began to teach at the Dalton School in New York. The Dalton School was a progressive school and supported art education. The Shaw Finger Paint studio also opened, and Shaw began to travel around the world to teach and demonstrate her methods. In 1933, the first American exhibition of children's finger paint art was displayed in a Manhattan art gallery. Psychiatrists and psychologists struggled with techniques to help soldiers and sailors with psychological casualties after World War II. St. Elizabeth's Hospital in Washington, D.C. conducted experimental work with painting and interpreting experiences by finger painting, and it was therapeutic. Shaw could get men who had not spoken in months to tell their stories. She worked at a governmental-sponsored 2-year program in Topeka, Kansas, instructing and demonstrating finger painting. Shaw was a huge part of the progressive education movement that emphasized self-expression and creativity. Her philosophy was to allow the children to create and lead them in discovery. Upon the end of World War II, mental health, creativity, self-expression, and aesthetic awareness were the goal of art making. Today, contemporary art teachers do not implement finger painting into their teaching in the same way Shaw intended. Although Shaw's methods were teacher-directed, her influence and processes are worthy of discussion. Thank you for listening to my presentation.